What are the things that made you guys become coaches? Kick us off, whoever.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. No, I'll go ahead. Dude, I looked at the entire industry, right? Mostly like the old school PUAs who we're talking about. And then I realized they were just analyzing guys that were natural from the outside perspective. And I said, wait, they're analyzing guys like me. Why not just get it directly from the source? I could teach it better than any of these guys can. And so that's kind of what kickstarted me. I was like, oh, why would I, let them lead from the outside perspective when I could lead from directly from the source? So that's kind of what motivated me. And I think, like Michael said earlier, I'm not in the business of coaching. I'm in the business of making men better. I think there's something rewarding in seeing like all my students and all my clients just getting the result they want and kind of transforming overall in general. So I do like the business in general. I think it is pretty fulfilling. So I think those two combined really pushed me to get started.
Right. Who's next? If there's like a painful experience you had and you had this revelation, that kind of thing.
In 2006, my dad got run over by a drunk driver. And afterwards, 6 weeks later, I got my first deployment to Iraq. And while I was there, my girl I'd just been dating this girl for 3 weeks. She starts dating another dude, doesn't say anything. I'm watching this on MySpace back at the time. And I remember I had the early symptoms of what later found out to be psoriatic arthritis, like just fucking crazy amounts of like inflammation. My scalp turned red. Like I was dealing with just massive amounts of stress. And then a couple of years later, someone had me read the book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And I read the book and it was just like this huge weight that was lifted from me, regardless of the whole ethereal woo-woo shit in the book. Just the concept of like, I don't really have to concern myself with what other people think. And the only moment is this present moment was just such a revelation that I wanted to teach people about it. So initially I would go talk to forums back in like 2008 about this concept and how it could fit into you being a more attractive man. Then, fast forward 14 years later, I've been doing it for free. I've been going up on stage with, different companies or whatever. And then I start my own program. But I genuinely, when I get guys in the program, try to pull them away from just chasing women and genuinely try to get them into, hey, how can we build a scalable business? How can we get you in better shape? How can we turn off the voices in your head that have to do with like these worthless people and their worthless opinions about what you have to do? How can we, the subtle art of not giving a fuck? Like, how can we get you in that mindset? How can we get you to think about the world the way Jocko Willink does, more like the way David Goggins does, and less, about the way that maybe your parents did when they told you to shut the fuck up and sit in the corner and don't make any noise. A lot of my clients who come from German backgrounds or Southeast Asian backgrounds, they grew up in these very, very formalized places where, they were taught to not express themselves or take any chances. And so I just thought that there was a great opportunity for me to fill in that gap where it was just like there was this huge market of guys that were in dating but didn't have leadership skills, and this huge group of guys that were in the self-help community but didn't understand leadership, communication, or dating. And I just decided to basically make, what would a special ops operator do for a dating course? That's kind of what my course came into. But I try to pull them away from all the dating shit and just be like, hey man, can we focus on the rest of your life being incredible also? And just been very fulfilling.
Nice. Anyone want to go next?
The question was how we became dating coaches or what made us
if there's like a painful experience and it led you to become a coach eventually.
Yeah, many painful experiences. Like in my teenage years, I told you, or I told Marcus in detail, I had no friends. I had suicidal thoughts as a teenager. I was always this kid chosen last in any sports, just being tossed to a team. That led me to as I said, like being a loner, having nobody and figuring this shit all out by myself, and they always told me, okay, school years are your best. Afterwards, you will have all the responsibilities coming with an adulthood, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, okay, if school is my best life, then what comes afterwards? I don't want to live anymore, And I remember everybody was celebrating their high school degree in a foreign country, and I was sitting home. I came home and I turned on the computer and then played like strategy games. That was it. And then I was like, okay, let's start a new beginning, going to university. Before that, I went to my grandma for 8 months, 6 months. Actually, it was like about 2 weeks. I was supposed to be there only for a couple of weeks, and turned out to be 8 months. And I started to game in a city of like 35,000 people in Hungary. And yeah, taught all this by myself. And later on, as I said, I moved to, my brother told me, oh, there's a group on Facebook, etc. But it was way back later where I was already like I figured this stuff out by myself. I posted my reports and stuff, and guys came to me, and 4 months later, I was leading the RSD inner circle group. And afterwards, guys came to me and said, hey, Pat, I read your reports and stuff. How do you do this shit? I want to, do you coach this as well? And I was like, nah, man, I'm just doing it for myself. And then later on, I became what I am now today. So I always tell guys, I probably had the hardest beginning of you all. Like,
dude, Brandon's story is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
So I was dating this girl for like 4 years about. Meanwhile, I'm like 23. Second girl I ever slept with. I'm in love, dude. Just head over heels. Fucking I was ready to marry this girl. We're living together, and so, she had this book on the dresser, and something compelled me to open this book. It was like her sex diary of every guy she ever banged. There was like 60 dudes before me, and I was like, dude, I swear to you, I felt like someone shot me in the stomach. I was like, what the fuck is this, dude? And to make it even worse, the guy like 1 or 2 before me, because I was the last guy in the journal, she was like, yeah, this guy had a huge cock. I was like, fuck this. I was like,
there were notes with it?
This. There were notes. Like,
detailed
this guy was
notes,
good at this. Bro. Like, this guy was good at that. Like, oh, this guy banged me in, behind the club or some shit. It was super detailed. And after that breakup,
did you take a photo?
Did you take a photo?
No. This is some scientific shit.
Yeah, but dude, it got me motivated, man. Like, after we broke up, I was like, oh man, the world isn't all like, like it's not all pretty. There's worse things, better things. I felt super insecure, and that's where I really started my journey, man. Like, I was on a freaking villain arc. I did everything. I gained muscles. I started approaching. That's when I met Jesse, and we got really good together. And we started noticing when we were pulling girls a bunch in Vegas, New York, around other big coaches. Dude, they were going home alone, and we were the guys pulling. So yeah, that's why we really started coaching. Also, I love helping guys.
I was a hopeless romantic myself.
Yeah,
buying girls flowers, writing love poems and stuff like that. But I mean, I never lost the romantic side still. Like, but for girls who deserve it,
Yeah.
It's crazy because I feel every girl
poems, bro.
Yeah, I feel like every girl has a sex journal though. So, or at least on her iPhone notes or something.
Maybe.
Yeah, dude, it's funny when you see girls with like autistic spreadsheets. Because me and Alex, like my business partner, we did 1 year where we had like a spreadsheet of all the girls we fucked, and we'd have like the ejection, like how long it took us to take him home, like how long until sex, like it was an autistic level spreadsheet. And then we've met a couple of girls that have something not that detailed. There's something similar where they'll be like the guy, where they're from, where they're, and I'm like, oh man, I'm kind of impressed.
I had a girl pull it up. And I told her to put my name at the top and just bold it. Be like, no, put me at the very top so you remember it's good.
Make sure you leave a note in your journal.
Make sure you leave a note. Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, oh, sorry, go on, man.
Oh yeah, just quickly. I used to do a similar thing. I used to have like a document back before Google Docs what was a thing. Fucking Microsoft Office Word 2000 free type shit. Just like, fuck, I gotta wait for it to load, and it will get slower and slower because that's how fucking garbage it is. But I would have put little notes like, we have 69, we have done like this particular fucking move, some random.
We have 69. That's a fucking verb now. It's hilarious. We have 69.
I was just very specific with this shit. So I was like, what the kinds of, but it becomes such a fucking drag. You're like, yeah, great, we had sex, but now I have to fucking make a journal about it, a fucking new entry. It just became so much fucking work. I just gave up, and I deleted the fucking thing years ago. But fuck, it's just not worth it. But shit,
don't lie to us, Ice. You still have it.
That was my autistic spreadsheet. Yeah, go ahead, Marcus.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, Yeah, for me, I guess somewhat of a similar story. It took me a few years to get like really good at game. And then essentially I was winging with a guy in Sydney that was coaching. So he was like a dating coach back in the day. And I just saw it as fun, man. Like he'd have guys that have students out on the weekend. And I was there at the club anyway. So I'd take like some of the students under my wing. I was just coaching for free. So I did that for like a year pretty much. And so I developed my skills in teaching cold approach. And during that time, like he kept offering me a job. And I thought, this is the last thing I fucking want to do. So I used to be like a clinical nurse specialist in a hospital. I was like, this is my dream job. This is what I love. I'm like, I would never want to take like my hobby, which is going out and like fucking a bunch of girls on a weekend, and turn this into a job. I'm like, there's nothing worse than sitting there coaching a student while I know I could be fucking this girl. So I was like, I'm never going to do this. But then after some time, it was actually like genuinely rewarding. Like having students come back and say, holy, like the thing that got me was not the students who would be like, damn, I'm fucking all these girls. There was one guy that came back. He was from Europe, I forget where. And he messaged me. He's like, holy shit. He's like, my whole social circle, my family, everyone has just said, I look different. I feel different. I act different. He goes, I feel different in myself. I feel more confident. He's like, this is the greatest decision I've ever done in my life. Like, thank you so much. And then I was like, okay, fuck, maybe this is what I do want to do. And so after that, I got into it, and it's, the rest is history. We started UMP, got a couple of other coaches. But I think for me, it was that real drive of just seeing guys completely go from these insecure, sort of like a little bit self-hating at times even, to men that really were proud of who they were. So it's kind of what
we call it from simp to pimp.
Simp to pimp, yeah, exactly.
Simp to pimp.
Simp to pimp, yeah.